was a bit of a trek to get here, but boy was it worth it to get to this brain ambrosia location. Just listening to the trickling waterfall, feeling the energy, feeling the mana, just begins to put my brain at ease. The soothing sounds, the relaxing tunes, and this video is gonna be about memory. And it's definitely gonna be something you won't forget. And I came to this special brain ambrosia location because memory is all about getting your brain into that optimal state where your body's relaxed and your mind is alert. And I just get to this wonderful place, this wonderful waterfall, and my brain just starts getting happy. And the thing is with memory is our ability to encode, store, and retrieve information. And the thing is memory is a representation of an experience. And our brain is subject to certain factors in encoding these memories. Our brain generalizes, it distorts, and it deletes. And you see, memory is the foundation of learning, of growth, of both our successes and our strengths, as well as our difficulties and our problems. You see, things like depression are very often formed from initial memories, traumatic memories, as psychologists like to call it. And our limits are really just blueprints we have in our mind as to what's possible, limits in our mind. And then we have things like PTSD, which is fundamentally a traumatic, vivid memory that when you think about, you get the full-on, as if you're re-experiencing, you get the powerful feelings. Then when it comes to things like phobias and fears, a lot of these are learned, and the foundation of them are one-trial memories. Even look at things like beliefs. The foundation of beliefs are memories, and the foundation of our confidence, of our positive beliefs, our empowering beliefs, are memories as well. So memory is absolutely the foundation of everything. It's how we worry. We think about things that happened in the past, then we reimagine them happening again in the future. And your memory is your ticket to learning better, focusing better, and making sure that you learn the lessons that life has for you as quick as possible, as easily as possible, so you can grow as a human being. And the first part of memory, as we mentioned, is the ability to encode information. If you don't really encode information and represent it in your mind, it's going to be difficult to remember it. And there's certain properties that register in the brain. Does mundane, regular old, ordinary register in the brain? I don't think so. Extreme, eccentric, outrageous, silly registers in the brain. We have these light bulb memories, where if you're old enough and I ask you what you were doing during 9/11, you could probably tell me exactly where you were, exactly what you were doing. We want to have an encoding strategy to make information more memorable. And this is where silly, sexy, outrageous, extreme register in your brain. So the types of mental images, how you want to encode information, would be something you would never tell your priest unless it's in confession. And the fact is when it comes to encoding, this is where we want to employ what are called memory mnemonic strategies. A mnemonic strategy is basically a way of focusing and coding information to make it more memorable. And very much mnemonics involve taking abstract information, like mathematics, like calculus, like history, and turning it into something concrete, something you can visualize and imagine in your mind, right? Because we don't remember abstract things well, but we remember concrete things well very, very easily. We look at something like academia, it's very much an abstraction, so we need to make it concrete so it's memorable. So you want to employ an optimal mental strategy. Now, is this necessary? Well, let me ask you a question. Do you remember the last beautiful, amazing date where maybe your girlfriend or boyfriend took you to a waterfall and you kissed under the waterfall? Hey, well, if that memory hasn't happened, you can imagine it. But if you've had a date, an experience, or even a really wonderful movie that you watched, a romantic movie or maybe a powerful movie or even a gory movie, you could reimagine and tell me the exact details of that experience. Now, were you taking notes while you're doing that? Were you doing little mnemonics? Hey, I'm going to super learn this movie and be the world's most boring date ever so my date walks out on me? No, you didn't. You sat back, you relaxed, you absorbed, and you let your photographic memory do the work. So we all have photographic memory. We all do it, it's just we all don't do it deliberately. You know, you have the person with PTSD or depression or even anxiety. How are they using, what are they using to create their depression? Photographic memory. So we want to take our photographic memory powers and begin to use it to super learn in one shot. The same rate that we learn our phobias and fears in one trial, we want to super learn the information that's going to help us excel in our career, in our personal life, in our relationships, in our spiritual growth. So we want to have an optimal mental strategy. Then number 2, storage of information. This is where we want to get into optimal brain states to allow our brain to consolidate and crystallize the information. And this is where I perform thousands of EEGs and brain maps and been able to measure the brain across different brain states. What we have is this ordinary waking beta brainwave state, where active thinking, problem solving, writing emails, planning. Then we have what's called an alpha brainwave state. And alpha is that kind of big sine wave lookalike on an EEG, where you're relaxed, in the zone, where your mind is present with what you're doing. It is a super learning state indeed. And it's something like the autistic children I work with, you need more alpha. So alpha is when you're in the zone, relaxed, body relaxed, mind focused, the super learning state. And then theta, you may have heard about theta and the power of theta. Well, theta is a slower brainwave state associated with reverie, daydreaming, and theta, this is where our unconscious in our brain consolidates information, even rehearses information. So during the dream state, during REM sleep, we'll see spikes in alpha and theta, and that is when our brain is rehearsing and replaying the learnings and understandings of the day. So it's really important. In fact, scientists, Dr. Bucalo showed that when the brain is sleeping and at rest, so when it gets into that theta, delta, slower wave state, your brain actually fires in reverse to reprime and reset your cells and neurons and neurocortical connections for new learning. So theta is super important for memory consolidation. So after you spend a period of time learning, absorbing information, you want to get into a nice theta state, mind at rest. Go for a walk, have a cat nap, a little snooze, a little meditation to allow the information to consolidate in your brain. And then, in terms of storage and retrieval, the fundamental law of learning and memory is that learning and memory are state dependent. Meaning the state that you're in, the brainwave state, the physiological state, the mental state, the feelings in your body are going to be associated with the information you learn. So one of the problems you have is when you go into a test, is your brain isn't in the same state that you learn the information in. Maybe you're a bit more nervous, a bit more anxious, a bit more amped up. So you want to make sure your brain is in the same state while studying and practicing as it'll be in during the test, because information and energy is state dependent, right? You're in a restaurant, you're with your girlfriend or boyfriend, you're just by yourself, and all of a sudden that song comes on. And what does that song do? It reminds you, oh honey, it's our song. So not only is states connected information, information can also trigger off states in you. It's always going back and forth in this bi-directional feedback loop. So you want to make sure there's congruence between learning state and testing state. So if you are anxious as can be while studying, I don't recommend it. I recommend soothing, calming, training, getting into those relaxed alpha, theta, super learning states. If you are anxious though while taking the test or studying, you want to make sure that you're in that same state while taking the test. So there's congruence. It'll be easier for you to recall and access the information. And those are the 3 main fundamentals for memory. When it comes to encoding, we want to have mnemonics to turn abstract information into concrete information. So the visual system is king. 80% of our cortex is wired to visual processing, visual information. We're visual beings. You know, our dogs sniff our way through the world. We see our way through the world. So we want to use the visual system as the primary system. Look, we can code thousands upon thousands of bits of information in one mental image. And we can combine that with mental strategies, mnemonics, like the method of Loci, which I talked about at length in the learning documentary. And then ensure we're in optimal brain states, and we can use brainwave entrainment, bioenergetic entrainment, light and sound therapy, neurofeedback, meditation, hypnosis, NLP, to get our brain into great learning states and then build the triggers, the anchors to be able to fire off those states on demand. That's what a ritual is, an external trigger to fire off an internal state. And then we have congruence between testing and practice state. And the last thing you want to do is make sure your brain is chock full with brain power nutrition to boost those vital neurotransmitters that fuel learning, like dopamine, norepinephrine, acetylcholine, to make sure your brain is firing quick, precisely, so you're able to learn and remember and increase long-term potentiation, nerve growth factor, BDNF, and all those wonderful things. And as well, when it comes to a lot of learning problems, stuttering problems, even dyslexia, typically we'll see, especially in autism, we'll see excitotoxicity. And oftentimes glutamate-induced excitotoxicity, where in other words, the brain is hyperstimulated from blue light, high EMFs, neurotoxins in food, lots of white noise in the background, being in a concrete jungle, not in the natural, soothing, calming environment our biology is trained and evolved to. So you want to start to balance the glutamate-GABA balance, so raising GABA. You can do that by getting out in nature, increasing your magnesium intake, consuming more flavonoid-rich foods like your brain berries, and things like curcumin and all these wonderful brain-enhancing superfoods. And when you put all this together, you put the nutrition, you put the mental work, you get in external environments that entrain your brain and get it into magical super learning states, you're going to unleash learning, unleash that super brain powers like never before. And I know that you're going to remember every single detail that you need from this video. Take it home with you, put it right into action, and start remembering the things you want to remember, forgetting what you don't need anymore, and those bad memories that you need to begin to white out, shrink down, clear away in your mind, and replace with big, bright, clear, beautiful images of you succeeding, having the best brain ever. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has been a wonderful waterfall introduction, helping that flow through, wash away those memory problems, and bring to the forefront better memory, better focus, better cognition. Thank you so much for joining me. Join me in the Brain Power Breakthrough Program to learn everything you need to know about learning and memory. Really appreciate you being here with me, and we'll see you later. And this has been Chris Wyllie, the Game Changer, giving you the blueprint to optimize your memory.